morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Oh, really good. Couple couple pretty decent earnings winners, and then just some nice follow through on some day after earnings trades. You just get I call it just buy into a strong move. So I had some of those, and then just some stuff I've been holding for a while that's done pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Good. I got lucky on the schedule part again with the birthday midweek. I told myself, be a little active beginning of the week, and had a couple of the pre-market runners, so to speak, that I was already holding, and some plays that we're not letting go of, and then a couple just basic TA bounces that were gonna be thank you trades for me mostly. As a plan going into them. Um, Stuff that I really just don't want to hold, but I see the range. And then Thursday, Friday, I was light in general, but the volume was so damn light. I really didn't have an appetite to trade then. And um, mentioned the secondary, he's like, "Oh, it's a good day to enter." I was like, "You probably have it tomorrow too." Just with it being the end of the month and the low volume being not necessarily a holiday, but a holiday if you're a parent. Um, yeah, just kind of a the month was in the week. That's a good way to put it. It started off pretty hot, kind of got slow towards the end, but very very tradable. Um, if you just stick to your plans, stick to your levels.
Yeah, and there's some have surprised me. Cat for cat to go up over 10%. Even on earnings is pretty exceptional. So I, I definitely cleared some out on that. The one of the things I noticed um, there are some stocks that have a lot of trouble holding gains, especially after pre-market. There's just kind of nothing to prop that up. And when I look at flow, I think that right now that kind of that boxing glove look is just so crucial. And the reason I think it works so well, and I haven't that in particular, is a little over a year I've been looking, so kind of studying that particular setup. I mean, I'd seen it before, but I don't know, just in the depth I do now. That it's like I don't know how this works share side, but there has to be some kind of longer range setup that's already there that can kind of just kick on for them. Like they want that open interest at that higher strike that's just already there, and then it can hold that level and move up. And I talked last week about how um, it was the one thing about PayPal that I didn't see, and I just sort of I didn't make a big deal. I just kind of casually mentioned like I'd like this better if I saw this follow through. And then you saw that great move on PayPal initially, OpenAI and the good earnings report and all that, and then it just gives up the whole move over over a couple days. So we've been at this a long time now, and so when you see setups like that in um, solid companies, um, we're already above our kind of ad zone, and you're just getting that move through a zone or whatever you want to call it. But then it really struggles to hold that. What how do you read that setup
Uh,
typically?
I mean, it's we were just talking football a minute ago. It's like football. There's more than one play. From what you were
Yeah,
first saying, like, they're already in a trade. The whales. Um, so there is like a different, more than one ways for them to skin a cat. So you're gonna see different things every time. But I mean, I'll throw the group up here. I knew right here, P.
yeah,
Right at noon, 12:30 that day, I didn't take enough off PayPal. It's going to bleed all the way back.
right.
You just don't get you have to. For me, um, uh, secret sauce a little bit. Why I'm comfortable with just buying on quiet things. because I usually trust the level. PayPal's a good example. I can get in, let's say, 65, even on my 70. It pops to 80 in the morning. And if by that first day I can tell, I still have a 10% trade I can lock in if I just fucking froze.
Yeah.
Because I understand a good entry, and then when the action starts or the play starts, I'm set up good enough, and I know how to read the field to know if it's going to continue or not. And it was just, I mean, you can see when there's not buyers or when there's buyers coming in. And that's without like that's just on volume. Um, PayPal, you could sit there on a thing like Twitter or CSNBC and stuff too over the next week, and you'll just see it constantly push through them as well on the news side, right? They'll drop PR stories.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be looking for this next week if you're going to re-enter here and play the range. But for me, there's a lot of mechanics that go on before, but when that move happens, it's just straight to level two, and you can see buying or selling pressure, I guess is the best way, or who's kind of winning, or if there's even someone there that could make the thing move. Yeah, we just got
Yeah.
stuck in the breakdown all week. Um, it was I don't know. I know PayPal a little bit. I mean, how long have you known me? Have I ever not talked about PayPal and Square? Um,
Right. Right.
so there is that to it as well, but it's not. I mean, get your own basket. You have MSTR. Um, but yeah, the for me, it's kind of why there's two trades because I've sat in stuff like this before, um, and it just kind of sat in the zone, maybe bleeded out, maybe checked down, maybe checked up, whatever. But if you were just buying at 70, you could have not done anything for over 3 years in this thing. So just kind of play the range on this one. For me,
Yeah.
with it's fine to keep a core position, but that's like a separate account. Yada yada yada. PayPal, yeah, $100 stock. Um, Probably not happening off an ER move though, right? I mean, that's just how it works.
Oh, right. Yeah. No,
Um,
well, because it's hard for them to do anything truly unexpected off of ER. You know what I mean? Like that. And it is. I mean, it's fintech and it's kind of forward looking, but it's a boring name at this point.
yeah,
There's nothing like real like hot and sexy about PayPal. They do what they do, and they do
it's
it well. I
chocolate
don't think
vanilla. It's chocolate
yeah,
vanilla.
yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So and by the way, on this topic, I don't understand the people who really like puts and they just want to trade puts on things. I don't know why they aren't looking for setups like what I'm talking about. That that pop and fade thing, and then you kind of see the weakness. They just seem to a lot of people, the Twitter people, like they want to buy puts into the strongest possible setups and the ones where news will pump them. And then you get the other problem of the IV's really high. You're trying to short quantum or even Beyond Meat. Like you want to buy puts on Beyond Meat after it already fell back to $2. You're just not going to really make any money doing that. Whereas the lower IV stuff that has that big move that day after ER, and you can kind of see it fading. Um, you can make some money pretty quickly. You'll know if you're wrong fast, and all of that. And it just goes back to what I talk about with puts is that they're all quick hitters. They have to be. Like you can't. I just don't understand swinging puts today. And this can just lead us into our broader market conversation. But I mean, it's that oxen thing, and it makes it a little hard to go long too with options because those moves can be slow. So this is where that analogy has so many layers to it that moving slow up or grinding up is not the best for options either. But people just keep resetting their account and keep trying this over and over, and it's how people blow up even as we're right at all time highs. So I'm preaching to the choir. No, you don't do options, but that's these are not great conditions for them
in general, unless you kind of know what you're doing. So that's my little rant about that.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think if you're gonna do that, you probably want to do that on something that has a lot of activity, which is your, SQQ, spy, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Um, yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's enough range there currently, so
Right.
to go downside, and then you're kind of are swimming against the grain. Um, I always said if I ever played options puts, if like that was a thing for me, it would just be on overextended stuff. But I mean, yeah, I would have got fucking killed this year because
Yeah. Right.
it didn't
They
stop.
stay overextended. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or you don't get that deep enough pullback, and you're probably, that consolidation kills you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, let's get in the regular market because I don't trade options. That shit sucks.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I got 3 notes. So I'm just gonna let you say you start it, and because I could probably inject these at any point in time. So,
About
all right, no, I'll start. I got you. Hard
okay.
assets, P.
Yeah. Yeah.
Went down that rabbit hole this week, and actually, it started with the Bitcoin, which I don't believe is the hardest asset. It is a hard asset, but gold and
Yeah.
silver fit. The whole housing market, all that stuff fits. And if you look how many dollars they printed in the last, 6, 7 years, it's kind of the flight to it. And um, stocks are the same way. They're a hard asset, and kind of
Yeah.
it does explain the market, not stopping in general. Um, but the main point I arrived at, and I want to get your take on it, is, I mean, we talk about the stock market being, like the front yard of America, so to speak. That's a good way to put it. Everyone
Right.
sees that as the representation of our house. Um, the weaker the dollar gets, the higher the stocks go up. So it's not necessarily a
Yes.
good thing for the overall economy. And I mean, I don't know if there's a word for it, but we were waiting for a recession and never got it. And we're kind of in this reverse recession where, everyone feels like they have money, but they're still broke. Um, I think that the night is
I
young
think
on
that the
that,
night is young on that.
but
Yeah. But yeah.
we're seeing the rotation into the stocks, and that's affecting what we do.
Yeah. Somebody's mic on here.
Okay, who's in here? Novice, kill your mic. There you go.
Yeah.
You're good.
All right. So yes, I mean I think that it's definitely it's a difficult time for a lot of people who, like, if you don't own assets, a house, stocks, all that. If you don't own a house and stocks, it's not likely that you own a lot of gold and silver either. So that kind of goes with it. There's some crypto exceptions, but yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, like, the dollar goes down and things get more expensive. What you get, you get the second job and or the gig economy thing and all of that. So yes, and it's just it's I don't know when you talk about like a stock market correction or something to just get some of these valuations just out of the stratosphere. I don't know what's going to trigger that. I mean, when people, some of the macro people that start talking and they want to, they want to sound like an economist and all that. They make some persuasive points about the conditions to me, but when you try to turn that into an action plan for trading stocks, it just doesn't work, and it has not worked uh, for for years, and they just kind of stay at it. So I don't know. I mean, I look for the the rotations, and some of them are quick or not dramatic, whatever. But it's why I bother still looking at Clorox, and it's why I did Procter and Gamble and uh, you know things like that, because that the money is just not leaving the market. So where are they going to park it within the market? And so to me, even when you look at a lot of like historical um, trends, and even the dot com bubble, which was a modern era phenomenon that happened. The landscape of the market is so much different now, so much more passive investing. It's so much easier to buy and sell stocks. The derivatives are even more entrenched as part of things. So I don't know that you can look at historical precedent that much for indicators of what's going to happen. And I feel the same way about crypto, that the cycle. They always talk about the cycle, but Bitcoin is so different now than it was several years ago that I don't think you can necessarily look to previous cycles to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, no, I think my more overall point is like it's uh, in any of the hard assets are being looked for value, and I mean that's why we had this explosion in the housing market. I don't think it was
Yeah.
necessarily for demand. I mean, because the house should technically still be there when we get on the other side of whatever, and the market
Right. Right.
value of that will still be, adjusted to whatever we're trading, whether it's, the house is worth $100,000 or it's worth 4 million because the dollar's worthless, or it's worth a quarter Bitcoin. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter when you get to the other side. If you have hard assets, you're gonna still get fair value for them. And
Right. Right.
as relating that to the market, though, it does look like the market's searching it. It explains PLTR a little bit to me, because
Yeah.
that move never made sense. Um, Explains like the big move. I mean, what was it that just moved dang near 50%? Was that Google? Or excuse me, Microsoft, to the 350 to the 5 something.
Right.
It's that just
Yeah.
doesn't happen on those charts. So trying to wrap my head around that, and do you run for the door because they are way overvalued, or are we in a, just people being in hard assets are not inflating them, but you know there's a premium on the better ones.
Well, yeah, and I think overvalued. It's so subjective, and it's possible that, I mean, people talk about how the market has abandoned fundamentals. It's possible that we need to recalibrate what we see as solid fundamentals, right?
Sure.
That they, like this new normal or whatever. And
Well, the market used to
and
go
then
just off of like book value, and then it went to
yeah,
forward PE, or
right,
current
right.
PE and forward PE. So I mean, that's an evolving thing. That's not like they used the fundamentals now in 2025 that they used in 1970. That's definitely not. They're night and day.
Yes, yeah, right. So I think that continues to evolve, and you sort of recalibrate that. But yeah, when it comes to looking for places to put money, and looking for the next thing that's going to surge and hold its value, I think, like, to me, everyone talks about the bubbles, but I'm not really convinced that AI is a bubble in the conventional sense, and the reason for that is that you had that initial surge, the kind of the idea trade, and then comes a hardware, and then even within that you have storage of data, and then data centers, and then energy to power the data centers, and then software figuring out what they're going to do, with all of this stuff. So that you're sort of building a whole. To me, that's how you build a whole economy. I mean, it's like oil. With You've got to get it out of the ground, you've got to move it somewhere, you got to store it, you got to ship it over oceans, and there's all these different pieces to it that function together, and then the money's going to move around within that whole framework, and that whole system. So to me, it is sort of a longer term environment taking shape, and it's why I'll talk about. Energy trade was my whole idea like last year. Was that and gold were the two things I talked about, and so then you kind of look beyond that, and then what's kind of the next thing could be like batteries in particular, or robotics, or drones, or whatever. But yeah, I just that's where it's like to me that all of this does have some staying power, and then the challenge is seeing that after the fact. What do you do with a stock like Microsoft these days? That so many of them have just taken off, and how do you deal with those going forward? Like I haven't touched Facebook in months, maybe a year. It had a pretty big pullback on earnings, so maybe something new sets up. So I just on on to the next, I guess. But yeah, but looking for all of this to the phenomenon you're talking about, looking for that to stop, it just doesn't seem like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's going to.
That's what posed the question for me is because I mean it's like getting toward the end of the year. You gotta make some tax decisions, and then I could just cop out of this, and or is it is there a bigger picture here that I'm not seeing? And that's the question I arrived at. Like, do I
Yeah.
truly understand the value of a dollar as I check out with my thing of bananas, my cranberry juice, and my loaf of bread, and it's 11.50? Do I really understand the value of the dollar currently?
Right. Yeah.
Because that used to be like $7, maybe six on a good day. Um, but no,
Right.
with what you say, kind of you ran into my second note just perfectly there. What you want to trade and what's tradable are definitely not the same. And I don't know who I had the conversation with that made me write that note down. It might have been on the golf course, to be honest, and not in the room. But anyways, it's here now. Um, it's stuff like Microsoft and Facebook and Tesla. There's always time to buy it, um, but it's not going to be when you want, and you just kind of have to wait for those opportunities, and you own it. You just kind of buy it when it's available, and you own it. Maybe it was last week we were talking about this. We had our chance with Tesla and Microsoft, and the better it is that you buy, the less you're going to be buying it. I mean, if you buy a Microsoft at 350, you're probably going to buy again at 455. You're going to have to DCA a little bit up there to get a good average. But if you get a
Yeah.
solid entry down low, you don't have to buy as much, and you can kind of just shave off as you go. Like that was my problem with buying Tesla again, is I already had 100. Why am I going to buy 220? Um,
Right.
didn't really make no sense to me. Um, so yeah, like and currently back to where that's going is right now you're not trading stuff you really want. I mean, I really want to trade some things. I can throw some names out there. Some of them I can trade. I just can't trade them how I want. Like I've been waiting to trade. I ain't gonna say no names, but there's a couple small
Yeah.
penny energy names I've been wanting to trade. There's some pet store I want to trade. You see it come up all the time. I can't. I gotta trade other things currently. I had to trade Beyond Meat. I don't want to trade
Yeah.
that.
Right.
um, I mean, so I think that's more of the guidance or the where your head needs to be right now versus the ones that got away, or is it a good time to get in and out? That we're just in one of those markets again where you're not going to trade the stuff you really want to, and you probably shouldn't. With that caveat, you probably aren't going to be keeping as many free shares or holding the trade as long as those others. I'm not going to tell you to three to five. I'm not saying buy meat Beyond Meat at $2 in 3 and 5 years you'll be okay. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you that with Tesla. So it's just where we are, and I think that's where you do the better work because you bring in some really awkward shit that
Sure. Yeah.
whales are interested in. I don't know how else to put it, but the whales are interested in it.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times with with being, I do like to trade the story and the big stories, but I don't know what that is or what I think it's going to be until I start to see the flow come in, and then it's like, okay, I can piece this together now. I mean, that's what happened with the, those semiconductor adjacent, the wafers and all that shit. Like, I mean, I didn't really know what that was when I first started to see the flow on it, but then, I start to study it and learn about it, whatever. It was the same with quantum computing. I'm an English professor, medieval literature in particular. I didn't know what the hell a quantum computer was. But I kind of picked it up and did a little research, looked at the kind of the pop science, take on it or whatever, and it seemed like a good spot, and then we kind of went from there, and also when I start to throw these names out, I don't know which ones are going to look the best on your end. And you take like IonQ and Rigetti. Rigetti, I sort of kind of threw in there. The QUBT and the other one, like those came even later. They had already moved once, when we started to get into that. But then we just got this basket, and we can kind of figure it out. And it happened with that. It happened with solar. Solar, interesting. Real estate for sure. And so you find the best one, the Rolls Royce, whatever, and then you find the ones with the best range, the one that's going to work the best share side, the one that's kind of options only, and this keeps happening over and over again, and it's going to be the same with batteries and whatever else we get into. But
Well,
yeah, that's why
I think that's the problem
process
currently where we are. P is I mean, people show up at the restaurant every day trying to eat, but sometimes there's just no clarity or not enough clarity to see actually where we're going. There is actual rotation or quietness moving inside those positions. They, for lack of better terms, don't even know what they're doing. It seems like. I mean, that's what I pick up on in the flow sometimes. Is
yeah.
they don't know what to do with their hands right now, or they're in a position and they're kind of waiting for things to happen. Whatever the case may be.
Well, we're exiting so we're going from the period, to me, having done this a couple of years now. The time of year where there's the least clarity is about wrapping up now, because this is where they're sort of finishing the work that they planned out last year. That's kind of been how it's gone.
So like their short-term plans are being changed or completed or rewritten.
Right. Yeah. It's just some of these big option expiration dates that come up, and then as especially as January approaches, signals of what they're going to do with all that shit they bought, and then when we have our over winter break. I'm a professor, so I talk in those terms. But so over winter break, when we meet, and it's like, what do you see coming this year? My answer to that question is going to take shape over the next 3 to 5 weeks. I think I'll probably see some things, and then kind of just ruminate on it a bit, see kind of see what comes next, and then just have a pretty decent idea of that 1-2 punch of, if Q2 doesn't really seem to matter that much, but it's like Q1 and Q3, and then what are they thinking there, and then once you get into Q3, it's like now they got to decide what's going to happen next, and we've just been through that over and over again. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, entering that phase with the market where it is of course different. So yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing what they got planned, and whatever it is, I think there'll be some pretty big opportunities. But you can't, and I mean, I sort of laugh at where I said I'm a day trader. I trade every day. That wasn't a really good attitude, right? And so like I think it's fine to kind of sit back and assess and just go smaller, and yeah, there's gonna be opportunities. We're in a heavy moment in the earnings calendar. I'm gonna find something most days that'll work, but it's pretty quick. You're just sort of in and out. And for the ones that get really punished, I don't think you just jump right in and catch a knife either, because they could bleed out a lot more too.
Yeah, I posted a chart shape meme about that
Yeah,
in my page this week. Like, don't buy this one, buy this one, and then it's basically just a three candle line is what it shows. Um,
yeah, yeah,
for me, like I've been doing this. I mean, where are we at? 25. Damn, I've been doing this part of it for it's probably 12 years. Where I would my business would slow down back in the day, and I would come to the market, and November really would be a like figure out what's going on month, and then by Thanksgiving or Black Friday trying to start getting into stuff, and
yeah,
finish that by the second week in January, and kind of be ready to go back to work in February, full time. That's just kind of how I always play it. So for me, I do know little things that come up, and the first thing I look for in November is that S&P inclusion information, because those were always easy to trade for me. And then after that, just looking for the stuff that just didn't really make a move on the year but had good news. That's probably where zoom out originated for me, is looking at a year chart and saying, that had a decent volatility year, but the price really hasn't moved.
yeah,
And looking at the story and going from there. So I like this time of year because you get that. I talked about a little bit about it with the earnings, but you get that 2026 guidance, or just everyone starts to say, hey, this is what we're doing next year, or this is what we did this year. And you get a lot of good substance news and not a lot of fluff this time of year. So I think it's a good time. We talk about, like, in a hot market, how do you get on the bike, right? Like, everything's running. It looks like it went 5 or 10% on its way to going 100%, but how do you get on the bike in there?
yeah.
Right now is a good time to get on the bike. It really is. It's not moving fast. You're going to get some very good consolidation. You should have 15 shares of that one company right now, and we'll be all right. And
Yep.
that's a pretty shitty trade. But in general, that's what you should be looking at, is some nice, quiet stuff with some really good stories to it. If you need places to look, just start in collabs. Like, you'll see stuff in there. I know right now because I'm like, fuck, we can't trade this right now, P. Um, but,
Yeah.
but if stuff has, like, you have those Januaries and then the leaps, or something like that, that's the stuff that's going to make it through this storm currently, or this slowdown, or this not hot market. And then when it does pick up, those will be the ones to have no problem moving. They'll move quietly, easily. And again, as I always say, the risk will match the reward.
Yeah, absolutely. And the there are I mean, we talk about sitting on your hands and all that, cash as a position and those kinds of things. For whales, sometimes the when I when I post flow and I say that this has urgency, um, all that means is that they're stepping to the plate and swinging to the fences. It's not that it's a particularly, like people post like high confidence, right? I it's not that. It's just there's a surge in activity here, and there's a setup, and I with those I got to see it have a little strength, and I would rather buy into the move like that than part. It's not a park and wait because they bought some weeklies. I think you have to be very careful about that. And you talk about the free money flow all the time. That
Yeah.
if they're just trying to get the last bit of a move, um, you'll often see a big surge in options, even from large buyers, which is why I see them. So you still, yeah, you definitely want to be cautious about that, and don't be buying the top of a pop and fade.
Yeah, get in on that a little bit. I mean, you talked about it. I mean, I guess we can reverse engineer this. I mean, you mentioned that in a little note this morning, and share side. I mean, again, it's PayPal in general. The pop and fade. Like, especially the pre-market ones, they just seem so fake because if you look at the total number of shares that are traded
Yeah.
in the pre-market, it's usually pretty telling um, that you should get a green candle with 6 or 7x the shares in the first 5 minutes that you got all of pre-market. Um, and when you don't, or you don't get half the candle that you got in pre-market, one of those things that are pretty telling that we're going to bleed out. And those have been the conditions lately. Is just everyone runs to the exit right away, or there's nobody there, and then you get that bleed out. But holding them 15% moves on anything that's not a low float just hasn't happened probably since, I'll say, the 1st of October.
Can you look at this Crocs move for a second for me? So this was that earnings, that earnings pop, and then I mean it gave it up instantly. But just in terms of volume
Yeah,
or
exactly what I'm talking about
anything.
right there. This is all
Yeah.
sell. Just all sell that first 5 minute candle. I mean, that's
Right, right.
never let up. I mean, now I got my screeners in the way, but look at that. This candle is like 90% people getting rid of shares. And it
Yeah.
goes to 50-50, and then volume just kind of bleeds out. It
Yeah,
fought
and I mean
once.
I
It fought once, but sorry.
I sold 10 of my 15 on this pop, and I'm fine with I'm fine with it. I mean I didn't know I actually didn't notice. I probably would have just got rid of all of it, but I was already the first 15-30 minutes is pretty busy time for me, so I wasn't really paying that much attention to it. But yeah, I mean that to me just really encapsulates a lot of what's going on. And when you have a stock like that and the that small amount of shares that can move it dramatically in pre-market, it's pretty dicey if you don't immediately get that initial surge. Like to me, what this would have needed, and again, I'm not like share side, I'm kind of limited here, but this needed to pop into that first wick quickly, and then it could stabilize and maybe hold a little more of that move, and then maybe the dip only would have been to 88 or something like that. But yeah, I mean it just fell right through everything. So
So I have the numbers for Friday. I don't have the numbers for Thursday because these are Friday's numbers. But
yeah,
so again, so you have pre-market PM right here. Pre-market it's 10,000. That's all the volume was pre-market was 10,000 shares. This first candle on the open is 44,000. It's almost 100% sell. So it's 4x,
yeah,
but all sell. And I mean, yeah. So there's your pressure, and you have to let that stop. And we didn't really stop until right here. Volume never came back in, but you're just stuck. You're in the box. Are you gonna trade that? I mean, maybe you trade short-term calls. That's not my game to trade a 79 to
yeah,
81. In the best case, even getting back here 79 to 83. Just without volume, never really came back. Very controlled though, P. Like I don't think it's, especially here. I don't think it's retail.
no, I don't either. Accumulation, but yeah, even the options aren't necessarily the best idea. Even if you see heavy selling like that, it's gonna recover some, but the spread on those options can be bad. So if you have a $50 spread on, it's the spread is like, what, I don't know, like 100 to 150. It can be hard to get in and out of that. You're gonna have to, even if you're right to sell the thing, you might have to bail on $20 of it, and then it's just not worth your time to really to do that. So yeah, I mean, I think for Crocs, I like that stock a lot. We've done it several times.
You should be
Wait for
playing
that
the week.
real.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you wait for that parking lot emoji to show up on it, and it'll get to 100 and 115 again. But yeah, I mean the flow wasn't there, and by the way, it's another one too. I knew they had earnings, but it didn't show up in the casino because I didn't see anything
Oh,
worth
definitive.
doing. And it ended up that, it looked like, oh damn, Prof missed Crocs. Look at that pre-market move. Well, look at what happened right after that. So,
You weren't
um,
getting out. You weren't getting out
yeah,
there on the option side. Um,
no,
it's a DCA share trade, but you should have been on this. Not you, in general, but
yeah,
I mean, it should have been on that August candle down, and then you're just basically playing the 75 psych. So I mean, you should still be $6-7 up, 10% up if you were playing it the proper way on the share side. Larger time frames on something like that though, because it looks like
yeah.
a nightmare if you got into it this week. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
But that,
yeah.
I mean,
And
that's the
then,
market. Even with one more before we go into the boring stuff. But even like this is, I mean, this thing is getting Disney news right now, and it's just hanging out at a level. I don't know if you got screen on.
yeah, you're right. I mean, and then one more real quick for me. Crocs got me thinking shoes, but this one was in
The
the
deck.
casino deck, yeah. And so the put on this did extremely well, and but it's just an example where just because it dropped, you don't want to just pile into it. Yeah, I mean the day after it did have this little move up, but it didn't really do anything. I mean, you have to kind of zoom out, and then yeah, it gets stuck for a few days, and then what happens? It just you know,
Yeah.
completely drops out of it, and you have to be careful with those. I mean, even ones that I did extremely well on deck on that move up, and then into that's reverse or that split, and you know everything from there. But I kind of learned a lesson with Elf on that, where like you got to take the win, and round two won't be as big. It'll take a while longer, and then you have to recognize a point where okay, this broke down, and this is something different now, and that end phase is the other one that I learned on with that
You-
that you can go to the well once too often, and then you just got to wait, and you just got to it's going to be something different after that. So
you
the
owe me a
story on deck, the thing that's going to drive it back up is different than that initial move up.
you owe me a buck. I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, real quick before we get to the boring stuff, this just because I want to put it out there because I really don't, and I know people fucking throw it out there all the time, and it kind of bothers me because it's like part of the game. Like you're gonna lose some golf balls when you play golf. It happens.
Yeah.
But did you have any Roku left?
Yeah, yeah.
I did not.
Um,
I did
yeah,
not,
do
but that
not.
was quite the move.
Oh, yeah, it was. I mean that was another one that I have a sort of different account for that stuff, but that surprised me a bit. That I kind of thought maybe not my line there, but that somewhere thereabouts would be back in play, and that we hang around 90 for a minute or something. But
Yeah,
no,
no, I mean, people tell you all the time, well, look how far this is going. I had such a good entry. I had 52s on this goddamn thing a couple times. Um,
yeah,
the strength through 106 happens, but I'm not mad about it. I had some great trades. I've traded a lot since then. Um, just noticed it because it was one of the winners last week. So I was like, oh, look,
yeah.
Flu's doing good. I guess who's bagged in that? But yeah. Just a power move through 100 there if you still have some.
Yeah, and it did. That I mean, it wasn't long, but the little initial earnings, aftermarket thing, did kind of approach that line for a minute, and then it just took off, and yeah, that was great. I mean, I will say I missed that in my. It probably should have been in my Friday notes, given looking at that setup, that pre-market, that like this is kind of going to do something. And even if you just straddle it with options the next day, because they were IV crushed, so they're cheap as hell. So you could have done a pretty low risk, $50 each way straddle on that and done well. So
Yeah, I mean, liquidity works both ways, and you're seeing that in charts. That's why you get flushed that way.
yeah,
And then, I was like, why did this get flushed out to the bottom? And then it just rolled up, 10%. Well, the market is really liquid right now, especially on moves that are out of zones. I mean, if it's up 50%, 40% on the year, it's probably liquid up to where it's at. So the moves will continue
Yeah.
to be violent on those. What do you got on the boring side?
All right, so go to copper first. Get off the minute chart here. Y- so yeah, I like where we're at. Mid candle on that drop was what I was after when it happened, and working its way back up, hanging around 5 for a while is not the worst spot. I think we're in a zone where you can accumulate some copper. I will say that this one's just gone, but
Oh no, I
you
sold
look for
that too. Oh my God, Pete's going to the moon.
yeah,
What do I do? Oh, I
yeah.
never be able to trade again. All
You
right.
look for
Sorry.
some smaller stuff, and so well, I'll say this: like, expect some newer aluminum copper names to show up.
I
So
almost put that other
it's
one on the list this week. I almost did.
the yeah, I know which one you're
The
talking about.
pirate, the
So
pirate one. That's what I'm gonna call that. You get it? You get it?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, I'm liking this, and I just think that construction infrastructure. I mean, that move Cat had to tell you something about uh, construction at the moment, and so yeah, no, I really like that. All right, so then you've got your gold and silver, uh, silver healthy pullback. It's it's still. I mean, so the I guess the tricky part with these is you want a pullback. You don't want a pullback that gets out of hand. And I mean, if this were to make it back to 36, 38 from here, that's a little bit dicey to me. Instead, you try to find a spot that doesn't that's not that dramatic, that settles down and can retest, and you're just going to be retesting for a while. So
if you go back to where you just were a second ago, why don't you just do the same? You got more. There you go. Why don't you just do the same thing you did last November? That'll work for me.
yeah, sure.
I mean, if you're gonna pull back, have it look like that similar chart shape.
Right.
Or it's just kind of just a little pullback. It's only 30 to 35 there. So would we hit 62? Yeah, right in here. Not much more than this, you would think. A little consolidation. So again, those candle accumulation, a couple weeks. That almost looks like the whole month. Yeah, healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, gold, gold, same deal.
Same thing.
Yep. All right, so then natural gas finally starting to do something here. So I still think you just stay in the combo names, and a lot of those haven't left without you.
No.
Some of them are getting through earnings, the EXE and AR and all them, and it's yeah. I mean, we're going into the winter. There's flow setups 30-50% above the price, so definitely want to have some of those. I think it's a relatively a little bit lower risk to be in those instead of the leveraged stuff. But yeah, we're also, I mean, we're entering a time where the boil like might show up, where it's like there are day trades within natural gas. I think that the sector might get that active again, is what I'm saying. So yeah, I'll be talking about it.
What you want to trade and what is tradable are not the same. Thought I'd just read that note again. I post one or two of these weekly in my. There's always one in my notes. If you guys haven't noticed that yet, always.
Yes, and it's just one of those sectors where I'm sure, like, to someone, maybe to someone new, it's like, why bother with this stuff? Well, I mean, I just like to have some things I don't have to look at every day, and that's what this is.
All right. So then oil. Yeah, I mean oil. It's kind of getting out of the danger zone a bit to me. Being in the lower 60s is fine, no big deal. I think 62 to 70 is kind of what you're maybe after, but again, there's just so many that get in a pretty good spot. I do think that you want to be real selective with your oil setups. Best flow setup on the best level. Just try to make sure that that lines up instead of throwing a dart at these.
Yeah, I think you said what you said in the last portion there about day oil probably becoming day tradable. I could see it.
Yeah.
Did well on my smalls, so I've kind of been chilling. I'm an owner of one with Warren, of course. Um,
Yep.
to kind of run it off what we talked about earlier as an asset or asset class. Oil is not gold or silver or Bitcoin even. There's a lot of oil. There's so much fucking oil. They have this thing called OPEC where they got to throttle
Yeah.
it. So
Right. Right.
just be mindful of that in general. All bets are off in a horrible situation. Oil will be cheaper, not more.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. So then, 10-year.
Wait, constant story. I'm gonna start, P. Constant story for me since we kind of started talking about this. Of man, that's not how we want to get there.
Yeah.
And it keeps kind of having those drastic moves down, and then fights for itself. And we're not in a bad spot, but we did get below 3 a little bit there. But that trend for me, and I'm glad we're on a larger time frame. That trend's a
Yeah.
fucking nightmare. You do have the last low there where your second buy is to kind of like have a point of no return. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, until this trend changes or we get some sideways action, I mean, I don't know how it affects the market directly, but it's not good. It's not healthy.
No. Yeah. I mean I talk about the. I mean, if you want to look at one reason the pop and fade happens, it's this thing. I mean, it's the there's a lot of this administration has some very specific, particular goals for bonds
Huge,
that is not
huge,
typical.
huge.
I mean, yeah. So it's
Sorry.
so as they engineer the outcome that they want in bonds, it's going to spill over and affect stocks and everything else. So yeah, you get some some splash damage or casualties from them messing around with bonds, and so I think that's gonna continue. It's just something to be mindful of. You just kind of keep an eye on this
Well,
chart.
the bonds
Um,
are 1 or 1A2 with the dollar issue I talked about earlier. I mean, I don't claim to be
yeah,
a rocket scientist or anything or financial wizard, but they are a piece of that mechanism of the valuation of the dollar and how we buy and sell debt and whatnot.
yeah, and the one that Twitter likes to obsess over, um, the yen, and then there's the euro, and so these currencies in relation to each other. Is something you can look into too. But yeah, I do check on the dollar chart here and there. It's surging a little bit. So if the dollar's surging and SPY QQQ are popping up, I mean, largely due to, I mean, Amazon goes up 14%. That's going to do something for the, market. But yeah, I mean, they something's got to give when both of those are going up. So I would just be somewhat careful of that.
Perfect.
And then Bitcoin.
Woo! What we at? 14 candles? 14
Yeah.
more? We getting there. We getting there, goddammit. Y'all
The
thought it was crazy when I said 50, huh? Y'all thought I was fucking insane. But we established that 108. I'll give P 100% credit on the 108. And then this 113 level, Bennett, I think it's perfect for what you're looking for. If we ever do want to
yeah.
check above that 123.45 area. 2 more weeks. I don't know where that puts us on the calendar for government bullshit. Maybe it's just the government opening back up and them saying something that pushes it. But I like this chart. I'm starting. It's a good evolution of where my head's usually at. Like when we hit the 126, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
slow down a little bit. Oh no, I don't fucking like this. I mean, at one point I said 102, right? I was like, I don't
Right. Right.
fucking like this. And now we're getting to okay, we like this again. So it takes time. It's a good evolution. I'm glad we're having the conversation just for the TA side of it.
Yeah, and just I mean, it's somewhat interesting to me that this is my last line for the pre-split lines on MSTR. For it to hang out below this one, um, that's a pretty good spot for a run up. It's happened several times now that it can make a move from this area. So it's so even that. I mean, it's interesting to me that the Bitcoin chart starts to be favorable to you a little bit, and then something like MSTR could even work share side down here. If those two things line up, rather than, I mean, when MSTR's 350, 370, you're just like, I'm out. There's nothing here
Yeah,
for me really.
well,
But
if you got mine up real quick, if you can see my screen,
yeah,
I was saying it to you for weeks. This 200 is important, and as soon as it let it go, it just not coming back. So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it'll reestablish, and if you have a level down there, that's exactly what I would be watching. Mine's
Right.
200, which is probably pretty deep cut, um, but
Yeah, yeah.
but again, it takes a lot to get lines on my chart. So yeah, if you hold here, we're talking here next week on this one. It definitely probably should be in more of the notes.
Yeah. All
I
right,
think
and then
I think coin's the better play though, P. I mean, because that's the
oh yeah,
Tesla,
yeah,
right? I mean, that's the Tesla, so you
yeah.
have to look for this situation to buy that pullback. I mean, that might be one. I don't know how it looks on your side, but that you are, all right. If we get to this level, I'm buying this here.
Oh,
Um,
so I then when Coin had their earnings, like I posted like this is going to be good tomorrow, and then I bought a couple calls and it just took off. I didn't get that full move, but I did actually. That's about 352 is where I got out. So to go from 340 to 352 and I don't know, an hour, that was enough for options. But yeah, this is great, kind of just smooth range on Coin
yeah,
these
yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah. It just fits the like. I don't know. I think it's mentality how people want to trade, and you got to stay in the better names, because again, there is a time to buy coin, and then it'll overextend or run or be out of the zone. It's going to pull back, and I think that 300 test is probably it for this cycle.
Yeah.
So
Yep. All right. Let's talk some spy real quick.
yeah, let's get out
We'll
of
wrap
here.
it up.
I mean, same story on your side. I can.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. There isn't much here. I mean, even less than normal as far as a lot of dead open interest. I just go out here. Yeah. Yeah, not much. I mean, you have to get into February and June before there's anything significant happening with puts on this.
Yeah, I mean, just the cycle continues. I mean, you should be accustomed to this part of this conversation by now. It's been the same for
Yeah.
6 weeks. So
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to say, like, not that this shows it, but it's just personally for me that if don't be fucking panicking if SPY pulls back to 660. I mean, I know that's a big cut from here, but that's been the number. So I want people to keep that in their head that I'm anticipating it, but if it happens, I'm not panicking. I'm gonna find something to do with my hands, and that's gonna be an opportunity. Unless you have something that correlates with it that has changed, right? Like some world
Yeah.
event or some, I don't know, something. You know, I mean, if we put groups on the ground in Venezuela and it went to 660, I'd give it a day. But if we just wake up on a Monday,
Right.
we just wake up on a Monday and it's at 660, I'm running to a lot of things. I mean,
Yeah.
I just am. Especially the good smalls, especially the energy plays we're talking about with 2026 theses. I'm looking for pullbacks on all of those currently. So you should have a list of that. And I again, I'm predicting the rain a little bit in that. I guess Pete. I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
want to have happen right now. I don't know about you, but I really would like a little pullback here. So don't panic when it happens, please.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you there for sure.
Awesome. You got anything else? Or ready to get to work?
No, that's it. Yep.
Perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.